Like to call to order the Chetwynd Council meeting. I'd like to have the opening statement read, please.
As we gather today on the traditional territory of the Treaty 8 Nations to conduct the business of the District of Chetwynd, we do so knowing that we are privileged to serve the citizens of this community. We shall endeavor to conduct our business in their best interests. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Prior to adoption of the agenda, is there any new business council would like to discuss under new business? Not seeing any. Adoption of the agenda.
Motion to adopt. I'll second.
All those in favor? Carried. Minutes. Held on January the 5th. Minutes from the public meeting.
Motion to receive.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Carried. Minutes of the regular council meeting held on January 8th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any omissions? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Carried. We'll go to delegations. We have Chetwynd International Chainsaw Carvings, Chris Larson. Good day, Chris. Step up. What do you got for us?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as our yearly thing, we're a little late coming in this year. I know usually we like to get ahead of any budgetary issues or anything like that and get it all figured out. But for sure, I'm just here to give you our yearly kind of wrap-up presentation, and again ask for the similar amount of grant money as we do. As you'll see as we read through here, I did change that up a little bit this year, and wanting to keep everybody up to date and everything like that as far as inflation and stuff. I definitely have a couple items in here that are definitely to your guys's purview there. So hello everyone, my name is Chris Larson and I am the current president of the Chetwynd International Chainsaw Carving Championship Society. Run out of breath before we even get started. The CICCCS. Happy to be here again, presenting on behalf of the CICCS. The 2023 International Invitational Competition was our 17th edition. It was another hectic yet rewarding and extremely well-received event. Despite being squeezed by construction, inundated by smoke from the forest fires, and evacuees from Tumbler Ridge, we still managed to host a world-class show. 2023 saw the highest level of help from the district that we've ever seen and just actualized. It was amazing. We had Blaine's group there with everybody as Ben was retiring out and stuff. It was his last year, and so it was kind of bittersweet there. Audra and their crew, Tyra and their crew, all throughout the district of Chetwynd. So we never wanted for anything when it came to the assistance from the district with moving logs, clearing the garbage, recycling bins, things like that. We had Tyra and her team down there helping with taking the votes for People's Choice and things like that. So the grounds were prepared, and through good communication, everything we needed to request was delivered in a timely manner. Go team. Please be sure to pass on those type of things to your respective teams. As we peruse through the financial report, there are so many unsung contributors that make up our sponsor list. It is humbling to see the scope and breadth of the in-kind donation that doesn't even show up on this sheet. So those in-kind donations from long-term supporters like Peace Country Rentals, A&W, the hotels in town, the Pomeroy, the Lakeview, the Days Inn, AIM Trucking, Dawson Co-op, GFL, Home Hardware, Tim Hortons, Gearama, Northwind Supplies, Chamber of Commerce, District of Chetwynd. There's a lot of things that each one of those does, and more other groups as well, that doesn't even make our list because they're just a part of our event, right? So that's when I say the in-kind events. It wasn't a direct cash donation. It didn't really show up in our financials, but it was something that we couldn't do without. So they add up to tens and thousands of dollars every year on top of our total bill of what this event does cost. So as we look at the bottom line of that and see where the event is at now, as far as what it costs, it really does bring that home. With that being said, as you look over the financials, so the financial statements, you may notice that we raised and spent more than ever in 2023. As you can imagine, over COVID, as we came back out of COVID, 2023 was the first time we really were able to taste what the inflation of that time was going to cost us. And it did make a difference. So as an example, before we've always run the competition somewhere around $150,000, and this year it was 203. So, but that, that had nothing to do with the money that we come to ask for from district and council. That was our fundraising efforts increased that much. So we were doing a lot more work on that. So anyway, so we'll carry on, we'll get through this here. And that trend does not look to be changing anytime soon. With the inflation of pretty much everything that is bought or sold, the society has had to remain frugal and diligent in our spending and sourcing of funding. In 2022, 2023, the board raised a substantial amount of monies. And if you look over to the financial thing, you'll see that that was in the area of $51,000 that we raised as a board. So that is above and beyond any sponsorship. That's just our board going out and doing events and things like that, putting that money back into the accounts ourselves, which, as I'm sure you can all appreciate, is really an unsustainable business model. We cannot rely on a not-for-profit volunteer board to raise $50,000 every 2 years. It's just not feasible. We were very lucky to get those amount of monies into our coffers that we did. It worked out really well for us. We had some great organization from a lot of our board members that got us things like dances and Christmas parties and things like that, which are really good ticket items. But again, can't guarantee that type of thing. So this year, to stay current and remain fair, I would like to ask the district to consider the following proposals for this and future years. For the past several years, the district has been asked for a flat $40,000, and that's been over a decade that we've remained at that same amount. Tried to always keep it low. And this has always been the base cost of the wood, which was $25,000 to $30,000, plus enough to cover things like the multiple insurances, the director's insurance, tent rentals, and delivery. And in the past, the district always also had a carver that was part of their sponsorship. Well, when we only had $3,000 left over after we paid for logs and stuff this year, there wasn't room to have a district carvered sponsor. But as you'll notice down at the grounds, every tent has a district flag. And we really do try and promote the district as much as we can with it. We figure that you guys are our gold sponsor, and really that has to be where you guys fit. So I did come up with a couple of options. We increased the flat rate amount to $50,000, which is $10,000 more than it was before. Option 2 would be that we request the cost of the logs plus the cost of delivery plus $10,000. Now that can vary, and we never know what the price of those logs are going to be until about 3 weeks before the event when they're ready to get delivered, because they scale them out. We spend, like, we've already set aside 3 or 4 logs for this year's competition. By the time we get to May, we'll be able to ship them up. They'll be ready, and then we'll have the rest of the logs by then. But it's a process, right? So we don't know what it's all going to scale out to and what that cost is going to be. So last year, the cost of our log alone was $35,000. And we estimated it to actually be that it was going to be quite a bit higher than that. We ended up coming through at the last minute, and prices kind of came down a bit because they were really astronomically high when we were looking at it to start with. It all worked out in the end. So we would have, in that case, if we would have been with this type of option, we would have probably only been into the district for about $45,000, $47,000. So, maybe I don't know how your budgeting would work for that, and if it's even possible to do that, to have a fluctuating amount that you don't know about until the trigger pull. So option 3 that I put down there, because this is all just being dropped on you guys right now, and I understand that we continue with the status quo this year at a $40,000 ask, knowing that we will create a similar year-end result. that the board will have to likely dig into the monies that we've earmarked, that we've built. That money that the board raised is actually earmarked to grow, build, and increase the and support the championship in things like tooling, in things like social media, things like that is what we actually raise that money for as a board. Because really, we go to our sponsors and raise the money to build the event, but there's certain things that don't get covered there, right? And that would be the tooling upkeep, the things like that. But not to worry, this is not a doom and gloom report. In fact, we are very excited to announce that this year that we have raised the podium amounts to higher first, second, and third places. So again, offering our carvers just that little bit more. Again, doesn't affect district and council at all. That's through our other sponsors. We've asked them in particular and individually, you know, can we afford to do this? Other events are starting to get up to these higher amounts for stuff, and we don't want to fall behind. So just like everything else, inflation is a factor, right? So we don't want to lose our ranking as the number one competition of our type in the world. We also have a lot of exciting news for this year with 2 new tool sponsors coming on board. So personally, I've been out pushing for tool sponsors for quite a while. I talked to in the carving game, there's things like Sabertooth and Mampa tools and Aspen fuels and all these different things that are very specific to this particular event. And this year we've had a couple come back. We're going to have Sabertooth sending us about $5,000 worth of tooling. That's going to be for our tool crib, and Mampa Tools is promising to do the same. So it's just these new fadangled little types of tools. And with some of that money that we've raised over the years, we're going to also reinvest and buy some new battery-powered saw bodies, some different stuff like that. We're trying to stay current and stay relevant for all our fly-in and traveling carvers. So we also are tentatively planning towards 2026 event. So it is a yearly event. 2025 we'll have another regular event. We have no plans of stopping until something drastic changes here, right? 2026 is going to mark our 20th actual event. This year, 2024 will be our 20th year as an event, but we did take 2 years off during COVID. So our actual 20th event, our 20th annual event will be in 2026. And the plans that we've been kicking around is to have it as a true return of champions. And we're going to invite all champions, but not necessarily just from Chetwynd. We're going to reach out across the world. I might even change up the dynamic of it a bit and go with like 6 international, 6 North American. I'm going to actually approach other carving events, and I'm going to try and make this thing something that carries on, and a different event hosts it every year after the first one being in Chetwynd. So that's pretty exciting. We have heard back from our 12 carvers this year. Every carver that we invited this year responded positively and was more than excited to come back on. I think we have an even field split of 6 new and 6 returning carvers. The 3 from the podium plus 3 that we just felt are the world's best carvers still and needed another chance to win, and 6 brand new carvers this year. So the board has completed a few fundraising events already. So there's monies in there that doesn't even show yet. We got paid from Kanuma for hosting their Christmas parties, and we have a couple more coming up with the hockey tournament coming up and things like that. We're extended ourselves out to cover some of that, do some scorekeeping, maybe host another couple bars. So we're still raising money. We're still pushing forward. We're still trying to put those bank accounts as high as they can be to cover ourselves. Because if you actually look through those financials, this year we would have lost somewhere in the range of around $9,000 in the 2023 year. But because we had such a banner year of raising $29,000 over the last 2 years with our board of profit after our expenses, we had it covered. It was all there. But again, we in theory raised those monies for other purposes than paying for the event itself. And there was some unexpected costs in there too. Some, inflation is crazy right now. Things come up. We had so one of the things we always do is with the hotels and stuff, we cover if they need extra days. So carvers come in an extra day early. Well, now we're paying for an extra day because we can't ask any more from our hotels, right? They cover us for 5 days. 5 rooms, 5 double rooms each out of the 3 hotels. It's a lot of money. Adds up really quick. Again, not even on our financial statement, but that's like $6,000 per hotel right there. So anyway, so if they have extra days here or there, if our carvers stay a little, we step up and say, you know, we're not going to charge our carvers. Let us help and cover that. So that is something that we also raise our money towards and use it for. So, and as always, I welcome, I have a couple of my board members here with me tonight. We welcome any questions and we'll do our best to answer them. And we thank you for your time today. And we look forward to seeing everyone down at the new and improved carving grounds behind the new library this year. So without construction fences, without stuff, without everything there, it's going to be an amazing space to hold this competition.
Thank you. Just prior to questions, I just want to remind council that we do not negotiate with our delegation. Okay, you could ask questions about terms and stuff like that, but we do not partake in that until we get to our budget. And you're correct; it's a little bit late when we do budgets, and that is where we do our talking about what we do with our money that Chetwynd did.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I threw the three options there, and understanding that that was probably the case. Alan, thank you very much.
Okay, any questions? Councilor McDonald?
Not a question, but more of a comment. As the council rep on the Chetwynd International Chainsaw Carving, I've noticed that you guys do quite a lot of fundraising, and you have a very small dedicated group. And I know that volunteer burnout is definitely something that goes around in a lot of our nonprofit organizations, societies, everything. Have you guys, and I don't know if this is still going on or not, but the PRRD did have grant writing services that they offer to nonprofits and societies, anybody with a CRA number or something like that. Have you considered reaching out to them to see if their grant writers could potentially find other festival grants that you guys might qualify for?
No, that's a really good point, Kayla. And in fact, I don't think we do utilize them for grant writing. We over the years have sourced out as many grants as we've been able to, but to have a resource like that, we'll definitely look into it. PRD is one of our grant suppliers, right? So yeah, and another comment to the PRD as well is that this year I was talking with them at a community futures meeting, and hopefully what we plan on doing is actually getting PRD to fund a couple buses for Fort St. John, Dawson Creek, and Chetwynd, and maybe bring the seniors down during the carving event, and you know truck a busload from Fort St. John for a couple for you know in and out for a day and things like that. So yeah, I mean we're always looking for those type of partnerships. Anything that is something like that, we definitely look into.
Anybody else? Councilor Nelson?
Thank you, Mr. Larson and the entire society. That acronym's a little long for me. I'm going to skip it, but the work that you guys do is really, really appreciated. And I understand that volunteers are the backbone of our community. So I just think it's brilliant. And the truth is that I was going to reiterate what Councilor McDonald said. I've worked with the Peace River Regional District grant writers, and they just need a little bit of information and they'll do the work for you. And I don't know who's currently writing your grants. I did see you got something from NDIT. And I just hope that you source out NDIT again, because I believe that there is some opportunity for you as well. But good job and thanks for your delegation.
You betcha. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Yeah, I'd like to thank you for all the work. Thanks to the board. I know they have jobs to accept. Not pointing any fingers, but thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe, for all your work. Okay, thank you. Oh, one question. Did we have any of these for the public? Okay. If anybody wants one of these that Chris is what he presented to us, they're available with Lenore. Okay, thank you. Okay, to the next, we have Northern Health. Becky Barton, Northern Health. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you.
Is it Rebecca?
Oh, Becky's probably better. I won't get upset with Rebecca. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Becky Borton. I'm the Health Services Administrator for Chetwynd, Tumbler Ridge, and Hudson's Hope. With me today, I have our Northeast Senior Operating Officer, Kendra Kiss, and our Chief of Staff, Dr. Braun Finkelstein. Let me see if I can, there we go, right on. Okay, Chetwynd Primary Care Clinic update. I'm going to try and give you a lot of information in my 10 minutes. Healthcare is a difficult topic with a time limit, so feel free to save your questions and we'll try and get to them. So our Chetwynd Primary Care Clinic, what are we doing these days? We're supporting the Chetwynd community with team-based care plans and coordination of care points between providers and systems with many different access care points. We have physiotherapy and occupational therapy working together to see clients return home and recover faster. Our vaccination and immunization programs for all populations has been increasing over this last year. We're continuing with our virtual dietitian support, ongoing mental health case management, wound care, post-hospital care support at home, perinatal services and support. Our opioid antagonist therapy OAT program is available. We have continued collaboration with West Moberly First Nations, Soto First Nations, Tansy Friendship Center, Sparrows Place to coordinate our local resources and services. And we continue to attach to family doctors. Looking ahead for 2024, substance use case management, increased coordination of palliation at home, and increased client family planning regarding aging in place, and continuing to increase our home support options and access within the community. Looking a little farther up the hill at our Chetwynd Hospital, we've welcomed a number of new staff over the last few months. We've welcomed 2 new RNs, 2 physicians, a casual medical imaging technologist, some lab staff, care aides, facilities maintenance, housekeeping, site safety coordinator, and Indigenous care coordinator. So lots of new faces right now. Recent upgrade to our lab's AC unit. This allows for us to run more electronic equipment. So as our lab improves, we're seeing more and more equipment come in. It produces heat, so our AC units need to deal with that. We're expecting a new call bell system. A replacement project is for spring 2024. Additional equipment planning is underway with the Hospital Foundation. We're going to see 2 new additional acute care beds for 2024, so moving from 5 to 7. We continue to see high capacity. About 160% capacity is our new norm these days. And we're moving to an electronic medical chart system versus the current paper chart system. Staffing update. So looking at the hospital, like I mentioned, many new faces over the last year. We brought into effect a new nursing rotation, and that started in January of this year. This was driven largely by feedback from our frontline staff and met some of their requests and things that they were looking for. We're seeing our travel and agency nurses increase with continued commitments to our community. Our Go Health team, and this was formerly known as the Travel Resource Pool, you may have heard about that in previous updates. These positions allow for staff to have benefits and pensions and still have flexible schedules, travel to different communities, and remain as a Northern Health employee. So they get the best of all worlds. Right now, we see 5 out of 9 lines filled with RNs, 2 out of 5 LPN lines filled. Our care aid lines are all filled, and we do have casual support in that area. For our lab, all positions are filled with casual support as well. Diagnostic imaging, same story. All positions are filled with casual support. And our local staff continue to go above and beyond, picking up shifts to offer support and coverage. And I can't say that loudly enough that we have one of the greatest teams out there that I've had the chance to work with. Looking at our agency staff usage, you'll see some data points there over the past year, with 34% being one of our highs, 36%, 15% of our staffing hours being the low. Care aides, by the way, are our most frequently brought in agency staff. Looking back at the primary care clinic, we see 3 out of 3 lines filled with RNs, 1 out of 1 LPNs, and community health workers, 2 out of 3 lines filled there. We have a physiotherapist and an occupational therapist in our community or servicing our community, life skills worker, dietitian, which is a virtual support, mental health case manager is filled,
Respiratory therapy and social work remain unfilled and continue to be difficult to fill programs and positions. We have 2 HCAP students, which will start shortly with us, and that's an Earn While You Learn program. Taking a look at recruitment and retention. Lots of numbers there. I provided, for your viewing. Difficult to fill positions. In 2024, we had 9 at the hospital, and that encompasses all of the hospital positions. So that can be housekeeping and maintenance as well as nursing. Net gains or losses, we're sitting at basically an even playing field for the hospital. Length of service, we tend to see folks, if they're going to turn over within the first 3 years of their career. It's not unexpected. It's a provincial statistic that we meet as well. And our length of service for those that do turn over is about 2.24 years. A little bit more information on our difficult to fill positions. One of the interesting points that you might notice there in 2023, if you look at the nursing provincial agreement, we had 12 difficult to fill positions in 2023. 2024, we're looking at 8. So there's been a reduction there so far. And we have 9 active postings excluding casuals. I'm going to turn us over to our Chief of Staff, if he'd like to come up and speak to the physician lens.
Hi, everybody. Bron Finkelstein, one of the physicians here in town. So yeah, things are actually pretty good from a physician perspective. We've been relatively stable over the past 3 years since I started in Chetwynd. Currently, we've got 5 family physicians operating out of the primary care clinic, which is an alternate payment model group. And then Dr. Banis is also in the community as a 6th physician. There is turnover in physicians as contracts expire. There are return of services which come to an end, and some physicians leave during that time. We actually added an additional position to our primary care clinic at the end of 2023. So we had 4 contract positions, and with the support of Northern Health, we increased that to 5, and we recruited successfully into that. So we were even like a net above what we had started with. We do have 1 physician departing this month who has a replacement already secured, and we have another physician departing next month with a tentative physician secured pending finalization with other options in the works. So overall, we're looking to remain stable from a physician staffing perspective. That allows us to continue attaching patients at the primary care clinic to reduce our unattached volume of patients who don't have a family doctor. And it also keeps our physician coverage pretty consistent for emergency department purposes. We thankfully are even called upon by our surrounding communities to provide physicians for emergency departments. We have our Chetwynd physicians cover the Dawson Creek and Fort St. John Emergency Department quite regularly to prevent them from going on diversion, which is a pretty huge service to provide our regional community. And there have not been any primary physician diversions in Chetwynd, meaning if there has been a diversion of the Chetwynd Emergency Department, it has only been because there was no physician in a larger department such as Dawson Creek or Fort St. John that needed that coverage. So very successful overall, and we're hoping to increase our exposure to resident physicians who are physicians who've graduated medical school but still in the training process. And so if we can bring in resident physicians to do some of their training in Chetwynd, that will help with recruitment and retention and kind of promoting our community a bit further. And yeah, that's all I have to say on that point.
So looking into our diversions. So an emergency department diversion means that the ED or the emergency department cannot accept new patients, and those with emergent care needs must be redirected to another facility. Other hospital services and units do continue to offer care even when the emergency department is on diversion. So you are still coming in for your lab appointment, you're still an inpatient within the facility. We just cannot, for one of the reasons listed below, receive any more patients into the emergency department. So the top 3 reasons that we see an emergency diversion here in Chetwynd. Number 1 is that we do not have a registered nurse who is trained in emergency healthcare available. And that can be due either to a vacant shift, a sick call, or that EDRN that we have has had to go out on a transfer somewhere else with a client. The second most common reason is that we have reached our patient capacity. So we are a small hospital, and we do see surges, and we see a lot of sick people, especially due to respiratory seasons and different things like that. So you may find us at times going on diversion due to high patient acuity or the simple increase in the number of patients that we're providing emergency care to in that moment. And it has exhausted all of our available human resources. Third reason is physician service is unavailable. This is our most least common reason and really hasn't been on our radar in the last 3 years. So what do we do to try and prevent a diversion? Lots of things. We ongoingly adjust the staff schedules to allow for greater coverage. This is done in collaboration with our staff, and our staff are usually coming to us and saying, please move me over here. I'm willing to do this. They put their hands up every single time I call. And I am so very grateful for all the work that they do around that. They really deserve recognition for all of that. We increase our use of agency staff or Go Health staff. Increase other staffing levels to allow for a single RN to be focused on the ED. So you'll see us increase LPNs or carrieds in the building or RNs that are not ED trained to try and take workload off so that our ED RN can focus on the ED. We call in extra staff if they are available. That's a tough ask these days. We call out casual staff from nearby communities. We have a number of relationships with other providers and healthcare staff that do like to come and work in Chetwynd. We are educating RNs to become EDRNs, so we support the learning and growth and mentorship that they need to be proficient on that end. Ongoing recruitment efforts, that's a everyday thing. And we're working with transfer partners to transfer patients in a timely manner. So if we are seeing capacity issues, the faster we can get our patients out, the more likely we are to be able to reopen in a shorter time frame. Here's a snapshot of some of our diversion stats over the last couple of years. So you've got January 2024 all the way back to January 2022. You'll see some months where there's a handful of diversions and other months where it's an increase. And these go back to some of the same reasons that we just talked about before. Illness, vacancies, inability to secure agency staff, all of those things play a factor there. Having a look at our ED. So who uses our emerge department and at what level? So find my notes here, but in December of 2023, we saw total visits into our ED of 572. In December of 2022, we saw total visits of 476. The acuity scores, this is your CTAS score. When you come into an ED, you're given a score between 1 and 5. Generally, 1 and 2s are not something that we would want to see for ourselves or those that we love. 4s and 5s are your more generalized conditions. Some of those are easily managed in a primary care setting, but you're accessing the ED because it's after hours. We typically see mostly 4s and 5s through our emerge department. You'll see that 1s and 2s are the lowest little colors there on the bottom. Looking at December of 2023, we saw 8 visits that were 1s and 2s. So that just gives you an idea of who we're seeing here. I'm going to pause there. Questions, comments? Anything you'd like me to go back over?
Councillors, go ahead. Councillor Nelson.
Thanks, Becky. Tell me, what if you were on ED diversion, what would you do with patients with a CTAS score of 1 or 2?
If they were inside our department or if they were attempting to seek medical care?
Yeah, if they just walked in the door and were seeking care.
Yeah. So we work with that person around what their needs are. We provide, if it's a very critical situation, we provide any care that we can in that moment while we're accessing our partners, our transfer partners, 911. So they come in and support and take that patient to the next available emergency department.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald? Oh, and then James. Okay.
Thank you so much for your presentation. So you said that you have a consistent capacity of 160% at a regular time. You're working on palliative care at home as well as an initiative. Have you guys considered assisted living facilities? Like I know you guys already have beds at the seniors housing here. What would it take to convert some of those spaces into like assisted living?
Yeah, so Sorera's Place, we do have a number of beds there that are considered assisted living. And so that is something that we already have. We do know it's a need though, and we see it as an increasing need within our community as our population and certain demographics continue to age. We are seeing more folks turn up in our care inside our facility that could be elsewhere possibly. And so how do we get those folks to where they need to be, and do those places exist for them to be? These are very big questions. We have regular conversations with the Seniors Housing Society locally. Yeah, I'll leave it there that there is ongoing work around.
Councillor Work?
Thank you. Thanks, Becky. Just to follow up on Councillor Nelson's question, if somebody comes to hospital when there is a diversion, they are let in the door and assessed somewhat?
It really is contextual and it depends on the scenario. Sorry. I said it really is contextual and it depends on the scenario. So if someone is not presenting in a way that would require immediate or, emergent assistance in that moment, they are redirected to another emerge department. So those would be your 4s and 5s. If somebody presented in a state that was immediately life-threatening, we would attempt to respond in a way that we could with the resources that we had, keeping in mind that some of our resources may actually already be engaged with someone that requires life saving care. And so how do you be in 2 places at one time? And so that's the reason for the diversion, to redirect. It is why our messaging does include that if you are requiring emergent care, your best bet is to phone 911 so that you are brought to the most appropriate place at that time.
Good, thank you. Also, so the 2 new RNs and the 2 new doctors, well, is that a 3-year contract for all?
The RNs, one is under a return of service and one is not. And I can't necessarily speak to the physician lens.
Sure. So our physicians, we have a combination of those who are on a return of service and some that are not. So our most recent kind of over hire, or I guess expansion of full-time equivalents, is not on a return of service agreement. So they came here kind of on their own volition. And so there's no set time that they either have to be here or that we expect them to leave within. Another physician hire that's been more recent is here on a 3-year return of service agreement. So they will be here for at least 3 years, and whether they choose to stay longer would be up to them at that point. And then the potential hire that we're waiting on confirmation for would be another voluntary one without a return of service associated. So neither a minimum nor a maximum to that particular physician.
Thank you. And my final question, do all RNs have the opportunity to become ED RNs?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Doctor and Becky. One of the things that comes to my attention when it comes to the diversity of our doctors and where they come from, and I'm talking about being told and asked because they're on the forefront. When you come to a doctor, they're the ones that need to be able to help me when I'm ill or in danger, and they get the forefront of somebody telling them that it's your fault, that you are the doctor and I should be helped. I should be helped at the hospital when it's an emergency situation, and then yet we need to get the information out that all this stuff that we do as at the hospital is due to some other factors, and we shouldn't be blaming just the doctor itself. This happens in society, and it's happening here with our doctors that are of diverse race, because that's just what I see. And I was asked, and I was talking to my doctor. I believe he's a doctor that's leaving. And it's important that we understand that this is very important to me, very important to our community, that we get information that is stable, that we understand that it's not just the doctor, it's the system that we're under right now. And we have to be able to change that. And with the doctors, having 5 of them here, this is not our issue. It's not the doctor, it's our system right now that we're under. And one of the things that I wouldn't mind is just looking at the percentages of diversions in our community versus the diversions in other places. There are bigger places in British Columbia that are going on diversions, and yet we seem to think that Chetwynd, we are not special. We should not be. We should all have equal opportunity. So this is the stuff that Chetwyndites need to know, and Chetwynd people in the area need to know. So we need to give a better impression, or better information. I guess impression is the wrong word. Better information out there on why these things are happening with our hospital. And we can't have our doctors being the forefront of any kind of ridicule for diversion. This is not something that I'm very happy to hear about, and am disappointed. Doctor?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I also just want to extend my support to my nursing colleagues and the frontline staff at the hospital, because they bear a great deal of the burden with community interaction. And all of my colleagues in nursing and the allied health professions are extremely committed to the community, and we are operating under constraints throughout the province, whether it's access to primary care or the kind of supply of nurses in general. Yeah, thank you for your observations. And I just want to, say a special word to appreciate our medical team here, who are working very hard to keep our facility working to the best of its ability.
Thank you. Becky?
Yeah, thank you for that, and totally agree. The vacancy rates that we see here are not that different than what you would find in other locations and places. Do we want to see that change? Yes.
Okay. So emergency department diversions, hot topic in Chetwynd for sure. And I do find it interesting that the top reason is because there's no RNs available, or not enough rather. Second is that you've reached capacity. And third, not to happen in 3 years, is that there's doctors unavailable. So on the coattails of my mayor's comment, I don't even see how we could be blaming our doctors. But I do have this question, and forgive me for this one, but do you require the RN, or could you just call the doctor in?
Brian?
Hard questions.
So that is a difficult question. Physicians cannot operate as an island. There are certain things that if there's a physician on site when an emergency happens, let's say we're on diversion and somebody requires immediate medical care, that would be kind of the same as if somebody's requiring medical care in any public place. Those of us who are available would respond to the best of our ability. But to operate within a healthcare facility, things happen in a very structured and controlled way. We need certain assessments, resources. Physicians are not experts in, starting and running certain medications. If people need very intensive one-to-one nursing care, a physician cannot provide that care in many cases. If somebody requires certain medical interventions, there are roles that the physician supplies and there are roles that the nurse supplies. And it's unsafe to try to provide that with half of the team or part of the team missing. referring to the nursing in particular. So no, in most cases, in most emergencies, a physician cannot operate an emergency department without adequately trained emergency department staff to support them, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Great conversation, and thank you, Becky, for bringing this forward, and Dr. Braun and Cassandra, I believe you're still here. Kendra, right, Kendra. Sorry, and it's great having Northern Health here to explain a little bit about it. I know it's not always the Band-Aid and stuff like that. There's people behind the Band-Aid, so thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. See no bylaws. I guess we're all good in that department. Committee reports. I have just a little one from we went to the Natural Resource Forum, which was attended, I believe 1,400 delegates were, or that attended there, that I believe was including all the booths that were there. So it was very well attended, and it's very important that we have representation there, because we have ministers there that go there, and they are more than willing to talk to you and address anything that they might have some dealings with in your community or even outside of our community. So this is very important, and I believe that we have the greatest opportunity when it's in our backyard, and I mean backyard meaning 300 miles, 300 kilometers away in Prince George. And other than that, there's a few things that we need to discuss with the PRRD, and Dan Rose was supposed to, he'll be here in the next little while. So that's it for me. Any other reports? Mel? Yep. Councilor Beck?
No, I just had a quick one. I was able to make it to my first Senior Citizens Housing Society meeting. It's very informative. They have a few empty places. Far as I know, they filled one of them up in the last couple of days, or within the next couple of days coming up. Other than that, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. I too had the privilege of attending the BC Natural Resource Forum in Prince George this January, and it was a very rewarding experience. I was very grateful to attend. I found that the forum was very educational, and BC's, oh my goodness. I found it was very educational on BC's natural resource sector, and enjoyed networking with the local industries, resource providers, as well as politicians, both on the provincial and municipal levels. It was heartwarming to see such commitment to functioning, respectful, and effective working relationships between industry leaders and First Nations communities. This was a common theme throughout the event, along with trust and transparency. One topic that stood out for me was about the wildfire resilience and how this past year was incredibly scary for the province. There has been a significant increase in wildfires in area burned, and there needs to be more mitigation efforts. One mitigation effort mentioned would be decreasing permitting times for BC salvage permits for deadfall fuel. Alberta's salvage permits take about 6 months, while BC's permitting time is over a year. Permitting timelines as well as a whole was another large focus. Another notable moment during the forum was when Honorable Nathan Cullen said that communities need to be livable to attract professionals. And this is something we have all discussed at one time or another, especially just now with Northern Health. I believe that Chetwynd is a wonderful place to work, live, and play, although we have seen significant cost and inflation increases. And this is just not specific to Chetwynd, but province-wide. I see our outdoor lifestyle as a main selling feature to recruit and retain long-term and qualified professionals. I would like to see Chetwynd remain a livable and lovable community for years to come, and have the community marketed in a way that shows the benefits of living in a rural northern community. And for that, I actually have an idea, if you ever want to chat about it. Thank you.
We love great ideas. It's a great idea, right? Okay. Any other reports? Okay. Motion to accept reports?
I have a
Oh,
question.
yeah, go ahead. For who?
Councillor Deck,
Council.
the seniors housing that's available, where exactly?
I believe it was,
Councillor?
oh,
Yep.
geez. I think there was one at Sarah's place and three over at, or three at Sarah's place and one over there.
Little Prairie Haven.
I think that one's taken.
Okay, thank you.
Thick. I can double check when I get them.
Okay. Motion to accept reports.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor? Carry. Discussion items, Minerals North Conference.
I'll make the motion that council authorize 2 members of council. Actually, I'd like to
Hmm.
alter that request. The council authorize all members of council to attend the Minerals North Conference in Kitimat, BC, May 8th to 10th, 2024.
Need a second? Okay, Councillor Smith, second. Discussion on it?
I don't expect all councillors will go. They normally don't. But I just, with 4 new councillors by that time, I think it's important that they have the opportunity to attend if available.
Yeah, I agree that, but we leave it open to everyone to attend, and it'd be great if we had everyone attend. So that's the premise of us doing our business here, is that when we make a motion that we want to attend, we give it our best chance to get everybody there. So that's why some of these motions are made, so that we have that opportunity to take the whole council there. Councillor Nelson?
Sure, I'll second that motion. And I just wanted to add, though, it is the week in advance of the NCLGA in Smithers, which could become a little bit difficult for some people's schedules. Just saying that.
Any more discussion on it? Okay, all those in favor? Carry. "2024 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Annual Conference and Trade Show."
I'll make
Councillor
that
Beck.
recommendation that council authorize 2 members of council to attend the 2024 Federation of Canadian Municipalities Annual Conference and Trade Show in Calgary, Alberta, June 6th to 9th, 2024.
I'll second.
Any discussion on it? Councillor Nelson?
Did we send 2 people last year to Toronto?
It was just the mayor. Just one. It was the mayor. Go ahead, ask the question. Are we going to, or are we going to, and the mayor, or is the mayor included plus one? Let's ask that question. Okay.
I would say it's 2 total.
Okay. Good. Just 2 total for this. Okay. Great. Any more discussion on it? All those in favor? Carry. Letter from the Peace River Regional District dated January 12, 2020, or Housing Needs Report.
Sure, I'll make the motion that staff advise the Peace River Regional District, that the District of Chetwynd would like to participate in the update to the Housing Needs Assessment Project at an estimated cost of $2,152.
I'll second.
Any discussion on it? Go ahead, Councillor Smith, and then Councillor Beck.
I have a question.
Mike, Councillor? Yeah.
I have a question when it says there's an estimated cost, because in the top part, it said that the province of BC has also announced funding allocations to assist the local governments to meet the new requirements. So is that included in that cost? I guess that's my question. What's the cost?
Yep. Go get staff. Staff to,
The, sorry, the $2,152 would represent our portion of it. We would also apply for grants as available through the provincial government, hopefully offset that, some if not.
Councillor Smith, good. Okay.
Was there another question?
Yep.
Question?
Go ahead. Councillor,
And so what would our participation look like for this project? Aside from like the total cost?
Basically, we would just be answering questions. And most of the changes involve population density, providing affordable housing near transit stations for one, which is going to really impact us. As we're a community under 5,000, we'll have a lot less responsibility than a lot of other communities do. But what this allows us to do is communicate our needs and have the province communicate what they expect from us to meet those needs. So it's actually a really cost-effective way of doing things. We did it with the Accessibility Act changes this last year as well, formed a committee. It allows us to work together regionally. There's more power, more voices. We make sure that our needs are getting this in the mix because we're small.
Councillor Dick.
That's okay. That pretty much answered my question. Thank you.
Not see any more discussion. All those in favor? All those in favor? Carried.
I need to recuse myself from the next item.
Which one's that? Okay,
Um,
DEI 4, okay. Councillor Donald?
I'll make that recommendation that council provide a letter of support to the Pine Valley Trailblazers Snowmobile Club for its grant application to the South Peace Mackenzie Trust and to the Tourism Growth Fund.
Second.
Any discussion on it? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you. Of course, supporting clubs is important to me anyways. But the real question that does arise in my mind is would this put us in any conflict with the caribou recovery and the important issue that has arisen from all that?
I would say no, because there's an agreement with the Southern Mountain Caribou, so it's already in place. So there is no conflict with that agreement. There's agreement. So this one is to support them to get funding through the other means. So what is stated here in our so no, my answer is no.
I just haven't viewed a map or anything like that when it's speaking of the projects
Yep.
in line. So that was just a concern. But of course, if it's not contrary to protecting the caribou, I definitely would issue my support.
I believe it would be fairly easy to get the maps. They do all the GPS work and they do the mapping. So I'm certain it won't be an issue. We have maps for the Southern Mountain Caribou Agreement, so there shouldn't be any reason why we couldn't get maps if you want to look at them. Go ahead, Steph.
Just to further reassure you, because they're applying for basically provincial
Mhm.
funding, they'll have to conform to all the provincial programs. So one of the major factors for them being successful in the grant application is for them to not impact the Southern Caribou. So they're almost have to work together. But there is a map included in the second page that shows kind of the rough area as well. But it shouldn't put us, I agree totally with this worship, but it's not going to put us in any kind of conflict situation.
Thanks very much. And I would say too that our local snowmobile club brings a lot of tourism, recreational tourism to our area, and that support is very important.
We will have public at the end, And if you want to speak on what we have on the items, there's a place for public question period. I will allow you that time. It is a little bit down our agenda. So I agree that we have a responsibility to support our local. We just had a presentation by our local society for chainsaw carving. And this is the same idea of how we represent our community and support our community. I agree with you, Councillor Nelson. So is there any other discussion on this? All those in favor? Carried. Letter from the City of Cornell dated letter from the City of Cornell dated August 8th, 2023. Request for a letter of support.
I'll make the motion that council provide a letter of support to the city of Quesnel for the Quesnel Highway 97 North-South Interconnector Project.
Second.
Discussion on it? Are we too far away then?
Give it a try. I try.
Okay, staff.
Yes, we received this letter a little earlier in the year, and then his worship, Mayor Goodell, caught me at the resource forum and basically made me promise to present. And then I was thinking, because a lot of us do drive and drive long distances, it does make our travel, it would make our travel more effective as well. And it could conceivably, help us with freight costs too, because all the grocery trucks, all the trucks that supply us come through Quesnel as well. So it does directly benefit our community.
Councilor Donald?
Just as a past resident of Quesnel, the downtown core area is
Just, yeah.
very congested.
Yes.
That I can imagine this will be very congested for a lot of parties.
Okay, thank you. Any more? All those in favor of the letter of support? Carried. Will we get a copy of that prior to?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. All right. We'll carry on to correspondence.
Motion to receive C1 through C5.
Second.
All those in favor? Carried. Information items. I-1 to I-17, anything that needs to be pulled from there, councillors?
Make a motion to receive I-1 to I-17 for information.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Carried. Reports for action, North Central Local Government Association Annual General Meeting and Convention Registration.
I may as well make the emotion because I already pointed this out. All members of council be authorized to be registered for the North Central Local Government Association Annual General Meeting and Convention to be held in Smithers, BC, May 13 through 16, 2024.
Second.
Did you want to talk a little bit more on it? Okay. Yep. Any more on the motion? Okay. All those in favor? Carried. First Nations Major Project Coalition Conference attendance.
I'll make a motion that council authorize the mayor alternate to attend the 7th Annual First Nations Major Projects Coalition Conference in Toronto, Ontario, April 22nd to 23rd, 2024.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I have just some comments on some of the stuff that with the Indigenous groups with our province being the leader on how things are being done in our province with our First Nations. So it's very important for us to be in touch with our First Nations, and the CEO of that coalition is right from our northern community, our neighboring community of Fort Nelson. She's from Fort Nelson First Nations. So it's very important that we keep the line of information between us and them come down because there's a very important transportation line there, the Alaska Highway and the CN Rail. So there's important pieces of infrastructure that we need to be able to be aware of. If anything's going on there, that we keep our eyes and ears open, and what better way than to have this kind of communication open. So it's very important that we support this kind of endeavors with their conference. Okay. Councillor Wilson?
I would just like to add that I did attend this conference in Vancouver last year, and it was one of the best conferences I've went to in the last 12 months. And I just highly recommend any of my colleagues that can attend should, because I can't go and I have a scheduling conflict. But you're 100% correct. It's really important, and it's really important to learn about what the new projects coming up.
So did I hear a amendment because it says an alternate? Is that correct, CAO? Or is it just alternate?
Mayor or alternate is what we had.
Okay, so that just means one. So if we need an amendment for the mayor and another delegate, is that correct, CAO?
Well, shouldn't it be or then? It says and or. So to me, that's a one or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would normally say the mayor can attend. Or an
I'm
alternate.
seeing and. Or.
So that means one.
Okay, the purpose is to authorize the mayor and or an alternate. Yeah.
So two.
If you wish to amend it to mayor and a councillor, then that would be two. Right now it's mayor or an alternate in your place. So that would be one.
So does anybody want to entertain the thought of having a, go ahead, Councillor Ward?
I'm not sure. Did you make that? Oh. Yeah, Councillor McDonald, I would make a friendly amendment to amend it to and or, so two.
Okay.
Second.
On the amendment, any more discussion on it? All those in favor? Carried. Now on the motion as amended. All those in favor? Carried. So just gives us the opportunity to have a second to go if we do wish. Thank you. Reports for information, BCITI.
I'll make the recommendation that council receives the BCITI Residence Service Platform for information.
Second.
Any discussion? Councillor Ward?
Looks interesting. What's the timeline like when this will be instated?
It'll be by the end of February. We could actually roll it out fairly quickly, but I wanted to make sure the council was aware first. It's an operational decision. What it is it's a integrated platform. We saw with the fires last year, for instance, we were having problems with just using Facebook or websites to get information out. This gives us a platform where we can let everybody that's registered know that, the Battleship Fire is not directly impacting the community right now. you can tap on a link and you can see the real-time air quality of the Chetwynd area, thanks to Desiree Blank there installing them. You can go on and see what your utility tax bill looks like, what your water consumption is, what the swimming pool schedule is. It's designed to give residents an easy access to pretty much all the services that we offer, as well as being a communication conduit. I talked to several references in other communities. They just rave about it, like mayors and CEOs. I was thinking, when I started, I said, well, I'll be happy if we could give it. And they laughed at me. They said they get between 80 and 90% of their community who signed up into it. It's a really, really worthwhile program. And I'm really excited about it because it solves a lot of problems. Like, we've had in the past, we've had questions about newsletters. We can do regular articles and upload them about events that are relevant and timely for, garbage day canceled, you can let everybody, that kind of thing. So it's really going to help us communicate with our residents.
We are not canceling garbage day.
So that make Facebook or whatever redundant, then we wouldn't use that anymore?
No, we'll still probably use Facebook. We'll probably use multiple things, but almost like anything we put into the website will auto-populate into the B City. And so Facebook is, we'll see how we do with it, and if we still have a lot of use on it. I don't want to take away a tool that people are comfortable with,
Mhm.
but I want to add a tool that's accessible for people.
Thank you.
Okay, any more on the platform? All those in favor? Carry. No new business, and the public question, if you don't mind to step forward, state your name.
Stronger with the Pine Valley Trailblazers. Thank you. So saying, my name's Trapper, president of the Pine Valley Trailblazers. My comment was to be, if you wanted to look over maps, I would be more than happy to discuss that with you as well. We are grateful for your support with the letter of support for the grant writing. We got a member through the BCSF that we have hired to help our club, the Mackenzie Club, and the Tumbler Ridge Club after the effects of the South Peace caribou recovery. A lot of our areas did get closed and very well affected, so we're just trying to look to ways to preserve what we have and to make it a tourist destination, because we have equal riding opportunities as anywhere else that's a great destination like Belmont, Revelstoke. Just it's a lot less known about, which is why I kind of choose to reside here. Is you're not dealing with a whole bunch of different crowds, but we want to bring some of those crowds up here to share and showcase what we have to offer in the Chetwynd area. So if anyone has any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm very passionate about this sport and to see its success in the Chetwynd area.
Thank you. All right, recess to a closed meeting, motion to exclude the public. Can we make that motion?
So moved.
So we make that motion? All those in favor? Okay, carry.
Oh, what is gonna happen? A gold armor skeleton.
She almost lost her only friend. No.
Hey, Kat. I have a bone to pick with you.
Welcome to Chat TV Gaming.
Remember me, when the sun comes up in the morning sky. There I will be, soaring with the eagle so high, feeling free.